we realize those are dangerous words to say, because they say a lot to you. To have your way in our lives means we are letting go of our own way of living, our own determination to do it our own way, and to offer our lives. Father, I realize that there is no better way to live than that. That to try to do it in my own strength and go my own path has brought nothing but heartache and disaster in my life. So today, these days, as we walk with you, we're saying, Father, we want you to take over. We want you to be the Lord of our life. Oh, Father, your plan that you have for us. Help us do that, Father. Help us to give beyond ourselves to you in all circumstances, in all times. Father, we're here today on July 5th. We just celebrated our country's independence yesterday. And we thank you for that. We thank you for this country. We thank you for the freedom to stand right here where we are, worshiping you without a fear in the world of anybody harming us or telling us we can't do it. Thank you that you have blessed us in amazing ways. But Father, our nation is in trouble. We need you. We pray that you would raise your banner over this nation, and you would draw your leaders to you, and we would submit to you as a nation, just as we are right now in our own personal lives. Say, Father, would you control our nation? Would you control the world around us and help us to be a nation full of compassion and love and good deeds to other nations around us? Father, for the many that are on vacations, enjoying family time, enjoying just being out of the daily grind, would you bless them today? Wherever they are, whatever they're doing today, just press on them how much you love them, how much you just really enjoy them just for who they are as you created them. And they sense that pleasure. May it invigorate them, renew them for us today, here also. Father, we're going to open the Word. You always have something to say in your Word. Your promises that your Word never returns void. That it is full of life. It's full of teaching and truth. And it is always current to our circumstances. So would you open our hearts to receive what you want to say to us today? You placed a message on my heart, but may it not just be words from man, maybe words from you, God, that you express to us. May it change us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. And you can be seated. Thank you. I have a manila envelope up here somewhere. Marilyn's out of town, which means my life never goes as well. Because she sort of takes care of me. So I was supposed to have this all ready to go, and I'll do it at the end. But we're in a series that we've been looking at over the last few weeks. It's called An Audience of One. It's based on a book that I've been reading over the last several weeks. I read it in like 2 days, and then rereading it. Called Playing for an Audience of One by Joshua Brooks. Great book. I had a couple of extra books and I gave them away to people, but if you're interested in it, you can get it on Amazon or probably like christianbooks.com, that kind of place would have them for you. Playing for an Audience of One by Joshua Brooks. I'm sure probably just about everybody in the room has done a title transfer before. True? You bought or sold a car. Yeah, you sign the back of the title, you know. When you buy a car and they sign the title into your name, the dealer or the person that you're buying it from, they sign it, and now it's your car. And so you get the joy of owning that car. You get the good memories, the fun that you're going to have in that car. But you're also taking on the responsibility of that car, right? So, if it breaks down, you have to fix it. If you get in a wreck, you're responsible for that unless you can get the other insurance company to pay for it. But the title is in your name. It's yours. You can do just about anything you want to within the confines of the law. Now, when you sell your car, then you're transferring that title out of your name. So you sign the back of that. If you're really mean, you write down the date so that that person has to change the title right away. And it's a dangerous thing in today's world to not take them to the DMV and make them turn that title over right away. When Ron and I first moved back to Phoenix, we had one car. We came back from Ohio. We had a minivan. And we needed another car because both Ron and I were going to have to work. And so we didn't have any money, and we heard through a friend that this guy had his car for sale for $300. The only catch was that it had been run over by a SUV. And when I say run over, I mean the hood of the car had been run over by a four-wheel drive. You can see the tire marks going right across the hood. It was a mess. But the guy had just rebuilt the engine in it. So it ran good, looked horrible, ran good. And so I drove that thing around for about 9 months that way. One day it was a VW Rabbit. You guys remember those? And it had a wing, on the side window it had a wing. I opened the wing one day and the glass just fell out and shattered all over the road. But eventually I found this VW Rabbit that had a good body, but it didn't have an engine. So I had a guy swap out the engine for me. And I'm driving this car, and I'm going to work one day. I was driving down I-17, and I was teaching at a school down that way. And the police pulled me over. And I couldn't imagine what I had done wrong. I wasn't speeding. It was traffic, and I knew the license was up to date, except that I had to transfer the title over into my name. And so the guy pulls me over, and I said, why are you pulling me over? And he said, well, there's a warrant out for the arrest of the person that owns this car. And I said, well, I just bought this car, and I didn't change the title over. I had to do some talking to work my way out of that one. I didn't end up getting in handcuffs or anything. And then there's another family I know who they sold a car not so long ago. They signed the title, and they gave it to the guy, and the guy never switched it over. So a couple of months later, they get a letter from the impound lot that says, hey, you owe all this money on these impound fees for this car. And they had to pay those. And because you couldn't, they would hold back your registration for your current car and all kinds of things if you didn't pay that. So they had to pay that. But fortunately, since the guy hadn't signed the title over, they resold the car and they got their money out of the deal. They actually made a little bit more, I think, than what the impound fees were. So life works out sometimes. But that whole idea of transferring a title is kind of a big deal in our society today. When I sell a car, I'm usually pretty glad to get rid of it. I may have loved it. It may be something I've driven for a long time. But by the time you sell it, you're just ready for something different, right? You're just ready to get it out of your garage and off your driveway and to get out from under the responsibility. Usually when I sell a car, it's because it has so many problems I can't fix all of them anymore. And so I just try to get rid of it for whatever I can get for it. But it's kind of a good feeling, right? When it's gone, and it's no longer your responsibility. In a spiritual sense, God is asking us in our lives to sign over the title of our lives to Him, to allow Him to be the owner. Now that sounds like a pretty good deal because just like a car, if it's in His name, then that means I'm not responsible for it, right? He's responsible for it. That means He's responsible for the upkeep, He's responsible for the maintenance of it, all those things. It sounds like a really good deal, but we have a really hard time doing it, don't we? Why? Because signing over that title of our life to God means that He is the true owner. That means He's free to make decisions based on His ownership of our lives. That means He can tell us where we're supposed to go, what we're supposed to do, how we're supposed to handle our lives. And what's kind of cool, though, is we sign it over to him, but he says, no, I own it, I own you, but I'm going to still let you drive it. Okay, you can still drive it, take care of it, try to treat it nicely. We're the temple of the Holy Spirit, right? So treat your bodies well. But God is the owner. But we don't like that very much because that means that now we are under His authority. We're under His leadership. There are things He's going to want to do with us, in us, around us, because He's the owner of us. So He has the right to direct us and have us do certain things. So today, in a sense, you're getting kind of a double whammy. When I started, it was pretty empty in here, but it's pretty full now. So I'm thoroughly impressed with how many of you are in church today. So you're not only in church on the 4th of July weekend, but you're getting a sermon that says you have to give up all your rights. I don't know how it feels, but and on the 4th of July weekend, that doesn't make much sense, right? Because our whole independence is about our rights. Our rights to live as we want to bear arms, right? To worship as we want to worship. But you know what? I think we know this in this room today. But there is not true freedom just in having rights. True freedom comes when we have submitted our rights to our Creator, to the one who knows best for us, to the one who directs our life and knows how to grow us and to shape us into His image and make people that He desires for us to be. There's no better living than living under the authority. That's true freedom in our lives. Freedom within the confines of God's authority, God's direction in our lives. So I want to read this scripture for you. We're in Luke chapter 5. And you have your Bible source. Go ahead and turn there to it. We're going to start in verse 27. By the way, you probably noticed the TV up here. We're just experimenting today. That's an 80-inch TV. I was thinking about taking it home with me afterward and putting it on my wall. But the clarity of it and everything is so much better. So we're just experimenting with different designs and seeing what we're going to come up with here. So we're in Luke chapter 5, starting in verse 27. After this, Jesus went out and saw a tax collector by the name of Levi sitting at his tax booth. "Follow me," Jesus said to him. And Levi got up, left everything, and followed him. Then Levi held a great banquet for Jesus at his house, and a large crowd of tax collectors and others were eating with them. But the Pharisees and the teachers of the law who belonged to their sect complained to his disciples, "Why do you eat and drink with tax collectors and sinners?" Jesus answered them, "It's not the healthy who need a doctor, but the sick. I have not come to call the righteous, but sinners to repentance." So, if we're going to transfer our title over to God, based on what I'm going to pull out of this scripture today, the first thing we have to do is leave it all behind. So let it go. A couple of episodes ago, anybody watch MasterChef? I've talked about this show before. Oh, come on. 1, 2, okay, 3, okay, so you started doing better, thank you. It's a good show. All these home cooks, they call them, who are learning to be culinary specialists, and they cook these meals. So a couple episodes ago, this guy Steve wins the Mystery Box Challenge, and so he gets this great advantage because they're going to split the cooks into 2 teams, and Steve gets to be the team leader of one team, and he gets to choose kind of his dream team. He gets to choose all of his team, and everybody that's left over goes to the other team leader. Now, we have dream teams, like in the Olympics, our basketball teams, they started out as dream teams. I'm not sure how dreamy they really are anymore. They almost got beat last Olympics. I think the Phoenix teams are more like bad teams, at least recently. We haven't had much going on. But of all the people in the universe that ought to be able to pick their dream team, you'd think it would be Jesus, right? And he could pick anybody who wanted to be his disciples, to just have them come and live under him and be directed by them and learn about him. And he picks Levi, a tax collector. Nobody would have picked Matthew, Levi, as a disciple. A tax collector in those days, you've heard me talk about them before, they were extortionists, basically, is what they were. They cut ties with all of their Jewish family, Jewish friends, and they worked for the Roman government. And they not only forced people to pay their fair share of their taxes, but they extorted as much money as they could out of people because that's how they made their money. They had to pay Rome the taxes that they collected for the people, and then anything that they could get above that was their income. And most tax collectors had quite a bit of money. So, for Levi to be chosen as one of Jesus' disciples just seems like there's no way. But you know what? I have never ceased. I've never ceased to be amazed by God's grace. By how He would choose somebody, Levi is the example of somebody who you're thinking, there's no way, he's not going to be a disciple of Jesus, he's way out there. And you look around at people and you say, they're not going to become followers of Jesus. They are too far gone, they are too hard, they are too proud, they are whatever. And God somehow moves into their lives and He changes them from the depth of their heart, and they become some of the greatest followers of Christ of anybody out there, because God has done this amazing work in them. And that's what He did with Levi. And in verse 28 it says that Levi got up, left everything, and followed Him. So what did Levi do? He was transferring his title of his life over to Jesus by leaving his old life, his money, his job security, and just left it all behind and followed Jesus. Why would Levi do that so quickly? I mean, what made it just click in his head and say, okay, I'm gone. He leaves his tax table there with all of his money and his ledger and all that. Why would he walk away from that? He what? Yeah, he hates his job. Well, and ultimately that's true. He's not at peace. He's miserable. He knows that the life that he's living is not the right way to go. And he's absolutely miserable. Now he's rich. He's got all the money that he wants. He can do what he wants, buy what he wants, go where he wants, but it's not bringing him any happiness or peace. Rockefeller said, I have made millions, but they have brought me no happiness. W.H. Vanderbilt said, the care of $200 million is enough to kill anyone. There's no pleasure in it. Andrew Carnegie said, millionaires seldom smile. And then there's Donald Trump, who says, whoever says money can't buy happiness doesn't know where to shop. But I don't think it takes you very long to watch Donald Trump to know he's not a man of peace. He's not a happy man. Money is not going to bring you happiness. Money does not solve all of your problems. It probably creates more than what you currently have. And so Levi, unhappy with his life, unhappy with the direction it was going, unhappy with the lack of peace that he has, leaves it all behind and follows after Jesus. He's ready to transfer that title, and he willingly does that. I think he couldn't hand over that title fast enough. I think for Levi, it was like him, owning that little VW wrecked Rabbit that I had, and Jesus comes out and says, hey, I'll pay you $1 million for that car. Show me where to sign. I'm done. I can't do that fast enough. He just knew that was the direction. He knew that was the best way to live his life. And so he gladly turned over that title for him. It was nothing for him to leave it behind because he didn't need it anymore. He saw his way out. He saw his future. He saw this was the way that he could go. Now, it does beg the question of what happened to that table and all that money sitting there, right? Because it says he walked away from it. And I imagine as soon as he got around the corner with Jesus, people ran and grabbed that money. But it would be people who were still unhappy in their life, trying to make their life better, trying to grab what they could. The people probably who were not at peace. Because when Jesus said to Levi, "Come follow me," it wasn't come follow me, across the street or the other side of the city for a day. He's talking about his life. Come follow me. Come be like me. Come learn to live as I live. Learn to live under my authority. Learn to live under authority. Learn to live in truth. That's the offer that Jesus was making to Levi, and it's the offer that he makes to us. But he only makes that offer by asking us to sign over our life to him. Because we can't do it both ways. We can't keep control of the things we want and offer God the things that we decide we can offer him. It has to be all-inclusive. We are signing ourselves over completely, 100% to him. I don't think Levi was stuffing coins in his pockets as he was leaving. Well, yeah, Jesus, I'll follow you. Let me put some of that money in my pocket just in case. Since he left it all behind. He didn't need it anymore. It wasn't important to him anymore. It was done. It was gone. But here's where it gets interesting. Remember a sermon I preached a few weeks ago about Moses, and God told Moses to throw his staff down on the ground. And his staff was kind of a symbol of his past, his failure to be the person that God was calling to be, his failure to lead the nation as God was wanting him to do. And so it's a moment of surrender for Moses, and he throws that staff down on the ground and it becomes a snake. But then what does God tell him to do? Pick it back up. Because now, after he's surrendered that staff, after he's surrendered his life to God, now God's saying, now pick it back up because I'm going to use it for my glory instead of for your glory. Levi is a perfect example of someone who God said, throw down, follow me, and then pick it back up and use it. Because it says in verse 5, then Levi held a great banquet for Jesus at his house, and a large crowd of tax collectors and others were eating with them. So this verse says some important things. Number one, it says that Levi still had money. We assume that in verse 2 when it says he left everything that he left, all of that was gone. But he held this great banquet for Jesus, so he still had some money, because to throw a banquet was kind of like the social status kind of thing to do. The greater the banquet, the more money you have. And so Levi throws this banquet, and not just a banquet, it says a great banquet, an extravagant banquet for Jesus. But see, the thing is that money wasn't Levi's anymore. It was Jesus' money. And he wasn't using it to show his social status. He was using it to honor Jesus. He wanted the people around him, his friends, his associates, to be introduced to Jesus. So he's using that money to honor Jesus. Secondly, it says that Levi still had a house, because it says he held a great banquet for Jesus at his house. Must have been a pretty nice sized house to have a banquet there and have all of those people there. And, there's no indication at that point that Jesus said, walk away from that house. And so Levi was using it to honor Jesus, to bring his friends in, to introduce them to Jesus. And then, number 3, the third thing is that Levi still had friends, because it says a large crowd of tax collectors and others came to that banquet. So Levi had walked away, but it wasn't so much that he walked away from the money at that point, stay with me on this, at that point, but that he walked away from his rights. He walked away from his authority. He signed it all over to God, and God said, now, use it. Now, his friends, I think probably eventually, the tax collector friends and the others, who were the others? I don't think it was his parents and his new church friends that came to that party. I think it was other people like tax collectors. I think eventually a lot of those friendships probably parted, because Levi was moving in one direction and they were moving in another. Maybe some of them came along with him. Maybe some of them became followers of Jesus. The disciples traveled around
So there's no indication that Levi kept the house. So eventually, maybe he gave it away, maybe he sold it, maybe they used the money. I don't know. But at the time, God gave Levi the opportunity to use what he had to pick back up what he had surrendered to God and to use it. Now, a lot could be said about Jesus' response to the religious establishment who was saying, "Well, why are you here with all these tax collectors and these sinners?" And Jesus says, "Well, I came to minister to them. I don't need to be with the healthy people. I need to be with the sick people." And so this opportunity that Levi had to bring in these tax collectors, these sinners, these others, whoever they were, people who were disassociated with the synagogue. They would have been people who would not have been part of the Jewish religion, part of worshiping Jehovah God. And yet he brings them together so that Jesus can be introduced to them in their setting. I think that's pretty cool. Every once in a while, through Rhonda's work, her boss and his wife, they'll have some kind of party, birthday party, or I don't remember all. We've been to several of them, and I'm not a party person. I'm uncomfortable introducing myself to people that I've never met, that kind of thing. But I like to go to those parties because the people that are there they're in their element. They're with their friends. They're hanging out at a house that they're familiar with. It's very relaxed to them. Their guard is down. And so when I'm there, almost invariably I have the opportunity to tell them what I do. I'm a pastor, and we get into some kind of discussion about religion or about God. And I feel like I have the ability to say more to them in those moments than I ever would get to say to them in their whole life. They're not about to come to church. Even if I invited them, I didn't know them. They're probably not going to come to church just to hear me preach, but they got to hear me preach in a sense because I had some kind of influence in their life in the setting that they were in. And it's the way that Jesus works. We should not be afraid to be in those settings. Say, wow, those are kind of shady people. Those are not the kind of people that Christians hang around with. Oh, really? What did Jesus do? He was willing to hang around them because he wanted to minister to them. And he did it in their setting. I think that's a huge lesson that the church has to learn today. I'm not saying just go to every party on Saturday night that's out there. I'm just saying when the opportunity arises and you sense that it could be a moment where people are relaxed and could receive you in a different way, even if you're not presenting the gospel as we talk about, but you're just there and you're friendly with them and you have the opportunity to say what manages your life, what makes you happy, what is God doing in you. That those are opportunities that we're not going to get in other ways at other times if we're not willing to be in some of those settings. That really wasn't in my sermon, so I got to find out where I am. So Levi used what God gave back to him, and he used it, giving it all to God, letting God use it. But you know what? In some ways, it would actually been easier maybe for Levi just to walk away from everything, to leave the house and the friends and the money behind. Because when we pick something back up and we use it for God, what does that require? It requires a retraining of our minds. It requires us to use those things in a different way than we've used them in the past. It forces us to think through I have this in my hand, I've used it for this, now I need to use it for this. How does that work? That's difficult for us to do. And so there's a process. When Jesus told the rich young man to sell everything and to follow him, that would have been actually the easiest thing for him to do, rather than to keep his wealth and follow Jesus. I don't think he could have done it, and I think Jesus knew that. There's no way that particular person could reap reprogram his mind to be able to follow Jesus, having all that wealth. And so he said, let it go. And I think that's many times the easiest thing for us, because the truth is, money is one of the hardest things for us to sign the title over on, isn't it? We want to use our money the way we want to use it. We want to have what we want to have. We want to do what we want to do. So an example of if you're turning the title of your life over to God, and it includes your money, what would that look like? Well, John Wesley would be a perfect example of someone who turned his entire life, signed that title over to God, and let him lead. When John Wesley was in his first year of ministry as a pastor, he was paid 30 pounds. Now, Dave Ramsey wasn't alive yet, but Wesley held to the Dave Ramsey theory that you ought to stay out of debt. And so Wesley chose to live on 28 pounds, and he gave 2 pounds away that year. The next year, he was paid 60 pounds. How much do you think he lived on? 28 pounds. And that means he gave away 32 pounds. His fourth year, he made 120 pounds. Now, I know you're thinking, well, how much did he live on and how much did he give away? Here's my question. How did he get that church to give him so many raises in 4 years? That's my question. I mean, that's a pretty good increase right there, if you ask me. But how much do you think he lived on? 28 pounds. So that was 92 pounds that he gave away that year. See, God doesn't have a problem with wealth. A problem with how we use it. And if we sign our wealth over, whatever that wealth is to you, we sign it over to God, it's going to look different than it's looked in the past. There's going to be some different ways we use our money, some different ways our money is spent, some reprogramming of our minds as to what's important to us and what's not, what is godly and what's not in the use of our money. Another thing that, well, Wesley said, make what you can, say what you can, so that you can give away all that you can. You know what Wesley predicted in the Methodist movement, which is what he was in? He predicted that revival would stop in the Methodist movement when affluence became an issue. And he was right. And along the way, many of the Methodists, I'm not saying all of them, I'm not ragging on the Methodist tradition, but many of them became more affluent. They made more money, they saved more money, but they didn't give away more money. And revival stopped. You know, that's actually a large part of the reason why the Nazarene Church started. Because Phineas F. Bresee was a Methodist minister. And he felt this deep call of God to minister to the needy, to the downtrodden, to the poor. And his associates in the Methodist movement weren't interested in doing that, and he was kind of ostracized from that movement. And so he said, well, I'm just going to start a church on my own. And in Los Angeles, California, he started a church called the Church of the Nazarene. Why Nazarene? Because Jesus was from Nazareth. And Nazareth was kind of like the El Paso of the United States. You know, it's just not a... Anybody from El Paso? Gila Bend. You know, whatever city you want to use. I mean, it was just not the greatest place in the world to come from. It was not considered the place you want to go to retire. And so Jesus came from Nazareth. Jesus' whole ministry was associating with the downtrodden, with the needy, with the poor, with the hurting, with the sick, with the blind. That was his ministry. And so to be called a Nazarene is really quite a privilege to say that we care about those kinds of people. Now, the Nazarene Church has had its issues in the same area, and over the years, the Nazarene Church has also become more affluent. And I would say it's just within the last 10 to 15 years that I'm seeing many, many Nazarene churches moving back to their roots to minister to the people that Jesus truly loved and ministered to. That's something we want to be doing as Turning Leaf Church too. Stay true to the roots of our tradition and ministry. And to people that and their lives are a mess sometimes, right? We don't know what to do with them sometimes. It doesn't matter. We're called to serve them. We're called to love them. We're called to embrace them. Yeah. Let God work in them. You know that in America, over the last 40 years, we're twice as wealthy as we were. And they say that even it includes cost of living and inflation. We're twice as wealthy as we were 40 years ago. But giving in the average church has actually gone down over the last 40 years rather than go up. In the 1930s, the average giving per church member was 3.3%. Now, even that seems low, doesn't it, to us? You know, Nazarenes are some of the best tithers. It's true. It's true. Because we are teaching heart holiness. We're teaching, as I am this morning, that it's all God's. That we are turning over our life to Him. And so we as Nazarenes tithe. We give back to God as a reminder to ourselves that God owns it all. So 3.3% to us sounds pretty low. I mean, that means there's a lot of people not tithing, right? And some who are doing more than their share. And so it'd be easy to think, well, I mean, if it's 3.3%, I'm just going to back down to that. That's what everybody's doing. It's interesting the conversations we have in our head, isn't it? But we're not here to compare ourselves with other people. We're here to follow God's command in our lives. And so, whether it's 10% or 12% or 20%, God calls us to give. He calls us to love other people. He calls us to offer what we have back to them. But after all these years of prosperity over the last 40 years now, and this is probably even old numbers, but the giving per member of the average church is 2.6%. So even though the nation's affluence is rising, giving is going down. That surprised me a little bit because you hear about charity giving, and you hear about all these huge numbers. But it's because the affluence is going up, and so numbers overall in charity work are going up, but the percentage by each person is actually going down. And so we look at this and we say, well, okay, what are you asking of me, God? What is it? What are you really saying? In this little catchy phrase of transferring the title to you. Very simple, but extremely difficult. It's as simple as saying, "My life is yours. It's all yours, God. I have no interest in it. You've let me drive the car. I still got the body. You call me to walk and go and drive and all these things. But it's all yours. You're the leader. You're my God. You're the Lord." Simple to say. Very difficult to live our lives that way because we are going against the flow of society. So I'm going to live my life my own way. I'm going to control my own life. I'm going to do what I want. God's saying, you can choose that. You're not going to find peace in that. You're not going to find healthy living in that. The only way to live as I've created you to live is to offer it to me. So I created these little title transfers. So here, I'm just going to, somebody help me pass this out. Alright, just get them all back there somehow. Alright? Okay. I was supposed to have all those under the seat, and Marilyn coached me on what I should do. And I forgot. But here's what it says. Transfer of ownership. I sign your name, print your name. Transfer to God on this day, right, the day of the month and the year of our Lord,
my money, home, friends, and all that's important to me. This legal transfer of ownership gives God all rights to my life and my future. By signing this title transfer, I am relinquishing all rights and authority to my life, and understand that it cannot be. This is gimmicky, maybe, but I think it's something to look at, and because here's what I want you to do this morning. I should say, here's what I don't want you to do. I don't want you to be religious this morning. I don't want you to play a game. I don't want you to sit here and say, oh yeah, I can do that, and then never do it. So I would love it today if everybody wrote all their information on this, signed it. You don't have to give it to me because I'm not your owner. And God says you still get to drive. So you just hold on to it as a reminder that you've signed that title over. He's going to let you hold on to it, but you signed it over. It's his. He's the owner. I was thinking about having Rhonda notarize all of these, but that'd be a lot of trouble. That's kind of the response I expected, so I didn't do it. But, I think there's something to be said for really looking, okay, I've got a choice to make here. And if you're not ready, don't fill it out. Don't sign it. Because that would just be a game. That would be religion. We don't want religion. Holiness is to say, this is something I truly believe in. This is what I want to do. This is the best way to live my life. And so, Rhonda and the praise team are going to come up and we're going to sing that song. Actually, let's do the whole thing. Arms up and wide. And we're going to sing. And if you want to, while we're singing, I want you to sign this. And if not, then I want you to tuck it away with your things and I want you to take it home with you. And give it some thought and prayer. Say, am I ready to do this? God, I know you want me to, but am I ready to really relinquish my rights? I want you to pray with me, and then we're going to sing, and then you follow God's leading as we do so. Father, I just thank you for the truth of your word. I love Levi, who was just such a way out there person, so far from you. And yet when you called him to follow you, he just left it all behind. And got up and followed you. Father, it just reminds me that there's nobody who's too far from you. Sometimes it's not the people that are far from you, it's the people that are close, but not too close, who struggle with these decisions. I want you in my life, God, but I don't want you to have it all. That's the struggle that we fight. And so I pray today, as we sing this song, that you would just give us your Spirit's wisdom to decide what we really want to do or don't want to do. To offer the title of our lives to you. Let our lives be led by you.